Next, we will start our question round with Mr. Scarfo. Robert, the construction of the new high school will necessitate a change in attendance zones. What do you think is the best way to manage this transition? Everybody hear the question?
I would say I don't know that another high school has been put on the drawing board.
Is it good? Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, there is not another high school being planned at this point in time. Mr. Sitton's here, and you guys, is that right? Or
This time.
I mean, at this point, it's not part of the spot.
It's not.
It's not part of the. I know from serving on that committee.
Okay.
No, I know that.
Well,
It's still about half.
I think we'll go ahead and go with the second part of the question. Is maybe how do you believe that the attendance zones are properly zoned at this time, and what would your approach be to managing attendance zones? We will have some new schools at the elementary level, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, there are for sure, but those elementary schools will be basically into those neighborhoods. So there may be a bit of movement on attendance zones, but so let's talk about attendance zones just in general terms, okay? Because people because I think that's really the question. What my feeling is, and you're asking all these people. Briefly, attendance zones are necessary. You say necessary evil. There are times when you do have to make shifts because you cannot always put up buildings, and you reach points where you don't want to have too many children, especially elementary, in portables. For a lot of reasons. Those portables are nice buildings nowadays. They're not like they were 15, 20 years ago, but still, I worry about the danger. We have storms here, some pretty severe storms. Moving kids in and out of those places. So you don't want to have to do that, but sometimes you have to use portables because the district does just not have the resources. I don't think pretty much very few districts have the resources where they can put up buildings just because a school is 10% over their built limit. You have to use other options. And attendance zones is one of those things that you have to do. And I remember going through one of those very painful changes that we had to make, and you would think that it was the end of the world. And the irony of it all is, a year later, little Johnny is okay, and little Mary is okay, and everybody's fine. And it wasn't like, oh my gosh, they're going to lose their friends. These are children. They're very resilient. Way more resilient in a lot of ways than parents, I'd hate to say. But it is a tool that a school board has to have in their quiver. And it's not always popular, and you're never going to make everybody happy. You can stand on your head and cut it 6 ways from Sunday, and it's not going to make everybody happy. But what you've got to do is, what's the best option for the most children? Thank you.
Thank you.
So I feel that as a school board candidate, I have a unique position on this in that for the last 11 years I have been involved in many zoning issues that have come up through the district. Some of those I've been on the opposite side of some of the people that are sitting at this table, and some of those I've been sitting on the same side. I'm glad to say that we are all still very friendly with each other when we see each other, even if we do conflict. I think that zoning is a big deal. And community and the community spirit that is fostered through the school system, through the academic clubs, through the athletic involvement, community matters. And so we want to try as much as possible to make our zoning make sense. But in the same respect, the board is the one that often gets the short end of the stick when it comes to the press, because they have to make the tough decisions. We cannot have a school that is overfilled with another school that has no kids. So zoning changes do have to be made. And so one of the things that I think is wonderful is that we have a committee made up of members of the community that look at all the data and then come up with several different recommendations. And then those recommendations are given to the superintendent, and the superintendent gives those recommendations to the board. And the board is open enough, and they always have been, and this is what I've really respected about them, to listen to what the community says, go back to the drawing board, maybe make some modifications where some things don't maybe make sense, and then go back and then come out with a zone that everyone can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think one of the things I've been most impressed with since I've been on the board is just how much that the school district values community input. And so I think the short answer to this question is we need community input into important decisions like that. We need to get feedback from everybody in different areas of the community, and we need to, as board members, analyze the data and make the best decision, based on the feedback that we're receiving. And I think the district has been really, really good about that in my experience. Just take the calendar, for example, that we just deliberated on. People were on both sides of the fence on the calendar. There was a lot of input gathered, including multiple surveys that went out to the community, including focus groups effectively that were convened before any surveys even went out to the community. And I don't think this is any different. I think obviously these are very contentious issues potentially, but the important thing is that we as board members are open and receptive to feedback from the community, and that we take everyone's input into account. At the end of the day, I think we need to make those decisions, and that's what we all own as being board members. Ultimately, at the end of the day, have to make a decision. But the important thing is that we kind of put service to the community above service to ourselves, and we look at the data and make the best decision for everybody.
I will definitely agree with Mr. Carney. I think the bottom line is community input is the most important thing, and I have had the privilege of working on this board, and we value community input. It means a lot. I've seen so many times that we go back to the drawing board because the community has talked to us, and we try very hard to listen to that, to our community. And we understand that we're not going to make everybody happy. No way is there any way that you're going to make everybody happy. But generally speaking, our students come out ahead, no matter what they achieve, and they succeed. So again, you are very important, and your input is very important, and we take that. We do not take it for granted. We understand when you speak out, we listen.
Very good. One of the things that I really, really admire about the school board and the superintendent is that they value what we have to say. And one of the things is attendance zones. They're doing a fantastic job. I mean, let's face it, look at the calendar. They send out the survey of the calendar 3 times. Why? Because every time that they send out the school calendar for year-round schools is because we would give them feedback. And then they have to go back to the drawing board and take into consideration all of the parent input and community leaders' input. So the attendance zones are properly zoned, and I thank Robert Sinton and Carly and Nancy Morrison for allowing us that opportunity to provide input in what matters to us. So I salute the superintendent and all of the school boards. Thank you.
This microphone makes me want to sing. I want to stand up. I didn't stand up before. I'm afraid I'm going to fall on the cord, but hopefully I won't fall. So Will didn't tell me I had 2 minutes last time, so I'm going to go ahead and answer a little bit more specificity on that volunteer question. So I've been privileged to be able to serve on Dr. Fagan's advocacy committee that focuses on safety and security in schools. So that's been some time that I've spent with her. Right after she came on board, I was able to be part of the Dream Team Committee and the Innovations Committee when she was really setting some vision for the district. And so that's been something I was privileged to be part of. Also, Memorial Hermann Northeast Hospital does a lot of work with the schools, and specifically as it relates to physicals and EKGs, and I'm very proud to say that through some of those efforts we've been able to find some life-threatening cardiac issues that, but for those findings, children may have had some unfortunate mishaps on the fields, etc. So a lot of work there, in addition to doing things on site at the schools where my children attend, career days and helping with parties and helping with some PTA events. So apologize, I didn't provide that much detail. So to answer the question here, you know, I've had the good fortune of being able to, in my field of work, deal with some really controversial and emotional issues, and I've found just in my history here, having children in the district for you know, the last decade, that this is one of those issues that does elicit a lot of emotion in people. And I do often find that it's very difficult to find objective solutions that are agreeable to the most people at the end of the day if that's done with emotion. So that's one thing that I do bring to the table. I tend to problem solve in a more objective way. One of the ways that I do that, and that I've done in the past and found it very helpful, is you know, really looking at, first of all, the issue is if we did have another high school, the reality is we would need to do something, right? Continuing to do the same ways the same way, the same things the same way would not be possible. So there has to be some degree of change. How much that degree affects how many people is important to sort of hear community input. I, like the rest of the members on the panel today, am out of time. Sorry.
All right, thank you.